In the land of Yemen, a king named Dhu Nuwas, infamous for his tyranny, ruled over the Himyarite kingdom. To maintain his power, he governed by instilling fear and demanded absolute obedience to his authority. In his palace, there was an old sorcerer who had served him for many years. As the sorcerer sensed his approaching death, he sought someone to carry on his legacy. The palace officials selected an intelligent and determined young man from among the people and sent him to the sorcerer. Every morning, the young man left home to attend the sorcerer's lessons. But along the way, he would stop to visit a devout worshiper of Allah. The worshiper's words enlightened his heart, making him uneasy about the deception and magic taught by the sorcerer. Over time, he abandoned the superstitions he learned from the sorcerer and embraced the truth taught by the worshiper. Although he continued visiting both the palace and the worshiper, his faith in Allah deepened. One day, a terrifying creature blocked the people's path. As the people retreated in fear, the young man saw this as a test of his faith. Raising his hands to the sky, he prayed, "O Allah, if my path is true, let this stone, by your will, destroy this creature and remove doubt from the believers' hearts." Then he threw the stone. Killing it instantly. The people were astonished by this miracle. The young man's faith became even more steadfast. Ignoring the cruel king and the sorcerer's magic, he began healing the sick and helping the needy through Allah's will. The king's blind vizier heard of these miracles and approached the young man, saying, "If you can restore my sight, I will give you whatever you desire." The young man replied, "I only ask Allah for healing. If He wills, you will be cured." Then he added, "If you believe in Him, I will pray for your sight to be restored." The vizier accepted and embraced faith in Allah. With this act of submission, Allah granted him his sight back. The news quickly reached the king's ears. Dhu Nuwas summoned the vizier and asked, "Who restored your sight?" When the vizier replied, "It was Allah who healed me," the king roared in anger. He tortured the vizier and then sent soldiers to capture the young man. When the young man was brought to the palace, the king demanded, "Obey me and accept my religion." But the young man repeatedly answered, "I believe in the one and only Allah." Enraged by his defiance, the king decided to make an example of him to terrify the people. First, he ordered his soldiers to take him to the peak of a high mountain. The soldiers climbed the treacherous cliffs, carrying the young man to the summit. The cold winds lashed at their faces, and the abyss below appeared terrifying. The soldiers prepared to push him off the edge. But the young man turned to Allah and prayed, "My Lord, protect me from the traps of these oppressors." At that moment, a violent tremor struck. Rocks broke loose. The soldiers lost their footing and tumbled down the cliff. The young man, unharmed, descended the mountain and returned to the king's court. Though astonished, the king refused to relent. He ordered his soldiers to take the young man to the sea. The young man was placed in a boat. The soldiers rowed him far into the open sea, intending to drown him. But suddenly the waves grew violent. The boat capsized. The soldiers drowned. By Allah's grace, the young man emerged from the waves and reached the shore. Once again, he walked straight to the palace and stood before the king. Dhu Nuwas exclaimed, "No matter what we do, we cannot kill you. Put an end to this," he shouted. The young man then said, "If you truly want to kill me, gather the people, take an arrow, and say, 'In the name of Allah, the Lord of this boy,' before shooting. Only then will you be able to take my life," he added. The king agreed to this proposal. In a crowded public square, the young man was tied to a post. The king drew his bow and shouted, "In the name of Allah, the Lord of this boy, I shoot this arrow." The arrow struck the young man's temple, and he immediately passed away. The crowd fell into a deep silence. But soon they realized the truth and began believing in the one true Allah. Fearful of this growing wave of faith, Dhu Nuwas panicked. To subdue the people, he devised a terrifying solution. He ordered large trenches, Ukhdud, to be dug. He filled them with raging fires. "Renounce your faith and follow my religion, or burn in the flames," he threatened. Yet the believers refused to abandon their faith. The tyrants seated beside the trenches cast the steadfast believers into the flames.
Though the fire consumed their bodies, it could not defeat their souls.
The Qur'an highlights this atrocity. "Cursed are the makers of the trench."
That is the blazing fire. They sat by it, watching what they were doing to the believers. Their only grievance against them was that they believed in Allah, to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and Allah is a witness over all things. Surah Al-Buruj, 85, verse 4 to 9. Just as a hesitant woman and her infant were about to be thrown into the fire, the baby miraculously spoke, "Mother, do not fear." Then he added, "You are upon the truth," giving his mother courage. Dhu Nuwas could not escape the consequences of his cruelty. Neither his army nor his wealth could save him. Overwhelmed, his kingdom fell to ruin in a short time. Dhu Nuwas rode his horse toward the rising waves in despair and never returned, for no kingdom built on oppression can stand against the truth. The Qur'an warns those who commit such brutality and gives glad tidings to the believers. Indeed, those who persecute believing men and believing women and then do not repent will have the punishment of hell, and they will have the punishment of the burning fire. But those who believe and do righteous deeds will have gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is the great success. Surah Al-Buruj, 85, 10 to 11. True victory lies in standing firm against tyranny. Those who dedicate their hearts to faith ultimately triumph over oppression. Let us never forget, no power built on injustice can stand against the truth. Even today, the struggle between truth and falsehood continues, just as it has throughout history. Only one question remains. How strong is our faith in the face of adversity?